Hi, everybody. Welcome. We are live and ready to get started here. Welcome to our first of the Google for Education product training series. This is a sequence of different training series over 7 weeks. So there's lots of different training series here for you to attend and take in. So through the same registration site that led you to get to us today, you can go back and check out all the other sessions that are happening over the next 7 weeks, and we've got all those for you. Today's session is recent updates to Google Workspace for Education. So we're going to take you through a lot of the changes that were announced in the last week and let you know what that all means for you and make sure it all makes sense. We've got a short link here for you for today's slide deck. That's there on the screen. It's ampd.it/21GFE updates. And that's going to show up on the first 3 or 4 slides here up in the right corner as well. So if you don't catch it right here off the title page, that'll be in the top corner of the next few slides. So welcome, and we'll get started here. My name's Tom Woods from Amplified IT. I'm our Google for Education training lead. And a little bit about Amplified IT. We're a trusted premier partner with Google. We specialize in providing technical consultancy around educational best practices with Google Workspace for Education. And we also provide software as a service solutions and tools to help admins get the most out of Google for Education as they support their schools, their districts, and their organizations. So today's agenda, and we'll get right to this and we'll get into it. We're going to take a look first at what's changed. What was announced last week? What does it mean? What are the options that you have available to you as an educational institution? We'll take a look at what that impact means and what the different availability of these editions are. We'll take a look at how they're priced and potentially how you get from where you are today to one of these newer editions, or to make that transition from a previous product into one of the new ones. So we'll take a look at that. We'll review the timelines, when some of this stuff is going to take place and happen. And then we'll go through and take a look at some really exciting product announcements that are coming across all the various editions and give you some sneak peek into some of those. And we'll take some time at the end for some question and answer. So feel free to ask those questions. We've got a few folks here from the Google team monitoring those questions on the live stream in the background. They'll be able to get you some answers. And then some of those questions can possibly come to me, and we'll try to answer them during the time we have here for you today. All right, so let's take a look here at what's changed. So really what this comes down to is a lot of feedback that Google's taken in, received, and heard loud and clear from educational institutions, both K-12 and higher ed, around the current availability of what we could do with G Suite for Education, what we could do with Enterprise for Education on top of that, and that sometimes that wasn't the best fit for every organization, every educational institution. So Google's heard that feedback, and they've made some changes to give you more flexibility, more options, give you some products that you can pick from here that should hopefully fit the needs of every educational institution and kind of meet you where you are and where you need to be. So the big announcement, and this all shook down last week on February 17th, and hopefully a lot of you were able to attend those live streams then for those announcements. The big change here is what we know currently as G Suite for Education that we use with our students, teachers, and staff is changing, and it has transitioned to Google Workspace for Education. So a lot of this through the support pages, various areas of the admin console, we've seen in the last few months the term Workspace slowly working its way into there. Last week was the official announcement and changeover to G Suite no longer, and now being called Google Workspace for Education. So that's where we're at with that. And we'll continue now going forward to refer to it as that. And along with those changes, Google decided then to, again, taking in that feedback, create more options for you as an educational institution. So what was the G Suite for Education free edition that everyone has, that you started your journey with however long ago, however many years ago, is changing names to Google Workspace for Education Fundamentals. So that is the equivalent of the typical free suite of tools that you would sign up for as an educational institution. If you were to go today or tomorrow for the first time and sign up for that through Google's website, you're going to be getting Google Workspace for Education Fundamentals. And now with the separation of some of the offerings here and given that feedback, Google's broken things down into 3 different options here to take the normal fundamentals suite of tools and enhance it for what fits and what works right for you. So the first one we have is Google Workspace for Education Standard. So that involves a various different security and analytics tools, and we're going to break this down on a next couple slides here coming up. That is thinking about that, most of the things in the admin console that you're going to do as an administrator around security for the domain, analyzing, looking at analytics for the domain are going to be part of that Workspace for Education Standard suite. Next is an edition called the Teaching and Learning Upgrade. This edition has the enhanced educator tools, so think a lot of the things around Google Meet functionality and Google Classroom functionality are going to be part of this Teaching and Learning Upgrade package. So that itself is a package that you can opt for. These are not dependent on each other, standard or teaching and learning. You could go for either one on top of your Workspace for Education fundamentals. And then lastly, we have Google Workspace for Education Plus. And this, in the short form, is really the combination of both of those other additions, the standard, the teaching and learning upgrade, with also some other functionality as part of that as well to make the Plus package. And we're going to break these down. There's a really great link here at the bottom of the slide where it says Compare Editions. That's a great website from Google that will really just lay this out to a real granular detail about what comes with each edition, with some great charts that you can kind of reference to see exactly where the features lie that you may be looking for. So we really encourage you to check that link out for sure and bookmark that one, because as new features continue to get rolled out, then that will get updated with that Compare Editions page. Okay, so let's break this down and take a look at how does this impact me. So everyone out there has some version of the previous G Suite for Education or Enterprise for Education, and how does that impact you, and what do these changes mean? So first of all, we're going to take a look at Google Workspace for Education fundamentals. Ultimately, this is just a change in name only. Again, this is the direct equivalent for G Suite for Education, the free version that we've all had, that you continue to have. This continues to receive features and new services and innovations and support from Google, and none of that is changing. So if you have just G Suite for Education previously, you'll see a few areas in the admin console, probably under billing and areas like that. You'll see a visible name change to fundamentals. But aside from that, there isn't anything you need to do. Everything will just continue on with this new name. And I'm just checking, we got a few questions coming in here. Question from Chip. What version do paying customers now have if you're an Enterprise for Education customer? I think he had that backwards, so I had to read it the right way. We're going to get into that, Chip, in the next few slides here, so hold on for that. And Peg is asking, so Google Classroom is no longer free. No, Google Classroom is still free and part of Education fundamentals. There will be Google Meet features and other features that will fall into these paid editions as needed. And again, that comparison website will really break that down for you. So if I said something that maybe gave that impression, that's not what I had intended to say, but Classroom is still part of fundamentals and is still definitely free for education for sure. Thanks for those questions. That's great. We're going to roll on here. So Workspace for Education Standard. Really, for those that have Enterprise for Education now, think about the Security Center, investigation tool, security health, the dashboards, exporting your data to BigQuery from the report section. Those security and analytics tools basically is what Education Standard is comprised of. So if you don't have Enterprise for Education currently, and basically you're a Workspace for Education fundamentals, then this could be the step up that you choose to upgrade to for your edition, if those are the features that you're looking for. And we'll break this down with the other editions there and kind of do some comparisons here in a second. If you are currently purchasing partial domain licensing for the former Enterprise for Education. That can continue, and we've got some information coming up on how long and how that continues, but you could choose to stop doing that and then opt into one of these new editions like Standard, if that makes sense for you. All right, so we'll take a look at Teaching and Learning Upgrade. This is basically the suite of enhanced communication tools, the enhanced Meet features, breakout rooms, polls, things like that. The unlimited originality reports for your teachers will be part of this as well. So this is a lot of the point of instruction, the teaching and learning features from the previous Enterprise for Education suite. A lot of the feedback Google received, especially with COVID and remote learning last year, was a lot of folks really just needed or wanted the enhanced Meet features and things around classroom like unlimited originality reports. And that was my note about additional features for classroom that I mentioned earlier, things like that as an example. So if that's you and that's what fits best, and that's really just the piece you need, then now you can get just that piece for your educators and your teachers and your students. And again, if you don't have a current version, if you don't have currently Enterprise for Education, either full or partial licensing, then this is a great option where now you can just get these features only. And again, if you're in a partial domain licensing option and you were kind of testing the waters and seeing what you thought of Enterprise for Education, with all those features, you could now opt to just look at the Teaching and Learning Upgrade package. And Angela has a question. Is there a minimum number of licenses needed to purchase for the different levels? That's a great question. We're going to touch on pricing in a little bit. I can tell you before I forget right now, for this Teaching and Learning Upgrade, there is no minimum for that. So that's really great news. And in a couple slides here, we'll get a look at the pricing, and you'll be able to see that in a little bit more detail. All right, so then that leaves us with Google Workspace for Education Plus. So in layman's terms, it's really the combination of the Standard Edition and the Teaching and Learning Upgrade. But if we were to go check out that compare versions chart we referenced before, that you can follow that link to, there are also some other features that are only part of the Education Plus edition. Things like cloud search, some other features as well. So it is the combination of the two, but it also then includes some other features. But it is the direct equivalent or replacement for full domain Enterprise for Education that you may have now. The current full domain Enterprise for Education includes all the features we're speaking of, and this is the direct replacement for that. So for a lot of you, that will and can be your migration path going forward when it comes time to renew your Enterprise for Education, and we're going to have some more information coming up on that as well. All right, so let's do that. And then I see there are some other questions floating in, so I'll try to take a few of them if they make sense, but if not, we definitely have time at the end for those as well. So we've got pricing and migrations. So knowing now what's available to us, what does the pricing look like, and possibly for you, how do you get there? So again, we've got the Workspace for Education Fundamentals, which hasn't changed other than the name. That is the free Fundamentals edition that we all have. Everyone has that. Even if you opt for one of these paid editions, that is sort of going over top of your education fundamentals, so to speak. So at the heart of it, at the base, everyone has education fundamentals for sure. So when we come to Education Standard, which again was the security and analytics-based tools and features in the admin console, that is changing. And again, back to some of the feedback Google's received on previous models using staff, FTE, and things like that, that were a little more difficult to calculate or didn't quite fit well for everyone. This is changing to a model based off of your student enrollment. And Google, your resellers like us, will work with you, given your country, given your area, to figure out what that is and what that number needs to be. Education Standard is $3 per student per year. So you're purchasing it based off of your student enrollment. What happens then is still physically in the admin console. There are licenses for both students and staff that need to be applied. The next session that Amplified IT is going to be doing for you next week is going to take you in more depth through that license assignment. But there is also still staff licenses, just like Enterprise for Education currently. And those are given to you in a 4-to-1 or 1-to-4 ratio. So basically, for every 4 students, you then receive a staff license. And then in the admin console, those would be assigned to the folks and the people that potentially need them, given some of those advanced security features in the standard package. So $3 per student per year. And then in a 4-to-1 ratio, staff licenses are also given with that you can assign through the console. All right. Again, these prices are in US dollars. We know there's maybe a lot of other folks listening in today, and that's great. So we just want to put that out there to keep in mind that these are USD numbers here, and you'll want to work with your local reseller to figure out exactly what that means for you in your location. Teaching and learning upgrade. I did allude to the fact that there is no minimum purchase for this. So you could buy 10 or 20 of these for certain teachers and educators in your organization that you want them for. So that's a big change from some of the minimums previously with Enterprise. This is licensed on a $4 per license or per staff or teacher, if we look at it that way, per month. So you can think about who needs this, who needs things like recording, permanent storage recording of Google Meet, breakout rooms, all those enhanced Meet features, unlimited originality reports in Google Classroom, things like that. And you can total up those numbers and then purchase those licenses accordingly. All right. And on the last one, Education Plus, which again is the full set of features across both standard teaching and learning, along with some additional features that make it equivalent to the former full domain Enterprise for Education, back to by student enrollment for this, where that is now $5 per student per year based on your student enrollment. And again, that same 4-to-1 student to staff license ratio, you will receive a staff license for every 4 students in that total number of students to actually have the physical licenses to apply through the admin console that you need to for the users that are going to use all the different various features that require an actual assigned license to those users. All right. And let me just have a quick scan of the Q&A and see if there's anything I can cover right now. Adam's got an interesting question, and I don't know if I can go too in depth with it. What happens when a teaching and learning staff member, someone who has that license, interacts with a non-teaching and learning staff? Take Meet as an example. Well, there's a lot of nuances to that for sure, Adam, but the person who initiates or who is the creator of the Google Meet, if it is the person with the Education Plus or the teaching and learning upgrade license, then that Meet will start with those enhanced features. There will be breakout rooms, there will be polls, things like that. If someone who does not have teaching and learning or a Plus license assigned to them starts a Google Meet, they're the initiator or the creator of it, whether that's through Calendar, things like that, then those features would not be there. And that's not any different than the way Enterprise works right now, but definitely worth a mention that that's how that would work. Double checking some of the other ones here. Tammy was asking about recording with Google Meets. Permanent storage of Google Meet recording is part of the teaching and learning upgrade and the Education Plus editions. There is temporary recording coming to Education Fundamentals that hasn't quite landed yet, where the recordings, the MP4s, last for 30 days. So that'll be the alternative option there. But within the teaching and learning and the Plus paid editions, that's what gets you the permanent, potentially indefinite storage of those MP4s, those recordings if you're looking for those. All right. And Andrew and Rod are both asking about storage. We're not touching on that too much today, but there has been some changes to maximum allocated amount of storage for Workspace for Education domains. There's some blog posts out there about that. Teaching and Learning Upgrade and Education Plus do provide you with some additional storage in that situation. We can definitely tell you that the amount that's being given, the 100 terabytes, is less than 1% of the educational institutions out there will be affected by that. And Google's let us know that. So it's going to be a very small amount. But there's a bonus that purchasing the Teaching and Learning Upgrade and Education Plus is going to afford you some additional combined pooled storage for your domain over and above what's being allocated. So we're not touching on that in this presentation, but there's a quick overview of what that means. Let's take a look, and then maybe there's a few other questions that I can get to here that I missed. As far as migrations, how are you going to get possibly from A to B, whether that's fundamentals with nothing else into one of these new ones, or especially some form of current enterprise for education? There's a great link here on the bottom of this slide to a migration guide from Google, really well laid out with dates and times of when your purchase started for enterprise and what that means for you and how long things are extended for. I pulled out a few highlights here that I thought were really great mentions on the bullet points here, but that's not the whole story. Check out that migration guide to be able to see everything. If you purchased full domain enterprise for education in 2018 during a promotional pricing a promotion that was going on, they're actually extending that an additional year. So not 3 years any longer, but actually 4 years for you until 2022. So Google's added on an extra year there for those folks that purchased enterprise full domain in 2018. So that's really great news. And also another highlight I pulled out, if you're currently purchasing partial domain licenses for enterprise for education, a few hundred or whatever made sense for you, that's being extended. You'll still be able to purchase the older legacy is probably a good word, legacy SKU of enterprise for education as partial domain licenses up until 2023. So there's no immediate need or rush to possibly have to move to one of these new editions. If you do see something you like or that would work better for you, moving to teaching and learning upgrade or something like that, then we'd encourage you to speak with your reseller and discuss what those options would look like. But otherwise, you can still buy those partial domain licenses, 50 more, 100 more, at the $48 per staff US up until 2023. So that's another great highlight out of that migration guide time-wise, where you're being given that buffer to continue to do that if that makes the best sense for you. So again, we'd encourage you to follow that link to that migration guide. It's 3 or 4 pages with a lot of great timelines on the left, really laying out, if you have this and you bought it in this year, then here are your options, and you can continue to purchase up until certain dates. We've got that broken down here a little bit in the timeline slides, so I'll touch on that here in a second. Some timelines, and then we'll get into those new launches. April 14th of this year is when Teaching and Learning and Plus become available for purchase. So these new editions, Standard, Teaching, Learning, and Plus, if you don't have Enterprise at all, those are available as of April 14th for you to purchase in that new format, given the pricing that we looked at before. If you're a current Enterprise for Education full domain customer, again, that guide is going to kind of tell you where you are and what renewal means for you and what the options are. But if you want to, you can continue with your current promotional pricing that was guaranteed up until 2022 or 2023, depending on when you originally purchased. So that will continue. And you can continue to purchase after that, not with the promotional pricing any longer, but when that expires, you then have the option to purchase at the current enterprise rate of $48 per staff FTE up until 2024 before having to move into one of these new editions like Plus or one of the other ones. So some good news there on timelines. And again, if you're partial domain, you can continue to buy those partial domains up until 2023 before having to look or move into one of these new editions. All right, I'm going to go through these new product release slides, and we'll get through those, and then we'll sink into the Q&A at the end and see if there's some questions I missed and if there's anything else that we can answer for you in the time that we have here. Just in general, new product launches for Workspace for Education. I'm not going to read through all these, but you can see some really great stuff. We'll take a look at a few of these. Target audiences is one, automated group membership, revision history and Jamboard, a search to cite for citations, really great stuff like that. Few peeks here at what some of these look like with some great animations here. Document approvals. And I'll draw your attention to the tags, banners here at the top corner that are going to tell you what editions some of these are for, so keep your eye on that. In this case, this is one of the features that is solely for the full Education Plus edition. And you can see here in the animation being able to make a Google Doc, let's say, assign people to approve it, review it first and approve it. And then once it's approved, you can kind of see here what the workflow would look like. People then have to make a request to edit, because it then gets locked once it's approved. So then you kind of have some confidence that changes aren't being made to that document. Really great for school district and organization workflow, back office workflow at your district office or your offices at your institution can be really great. We've got draft responses in Google Forms. I thought that was a really great one to show here. I know that's kind of been a pain for a long time with a Google form. If you don't complete it and finish filling it out right away, you can't really close that tab and come back later. And sometimes that can be a real problem. So there's going to be drafts. You could take days to complete a Google form, and it'll be saving in that draft format before you submit it. That's a beta that's out right now. And you can see that's for fundamentals across the board for everyone. Some classroom launches coming up. Lots of great stuff here. Some audit logs. Some really great news about roster syncing. We've got CS First compatibility, improved capturing of images and sharing. Lots of things to help teachers and students at the point of instruction. A few examples here for Plus and Education Standards, so that analyzation of data component to those two additions. We've got exporting the activity logs to BigQuery and some new custom Data Studio templates launching probably in a few weeks for you to be able to really visualize that data that you're getting out of the admin console in BigQuery in a lot of great ways, and be looking at it longer than 180 days that it's normally only kept for, because we're exporting it to BigQuery. So that'll be really powerful. Third-party tool integration with Google Classroom add-ons. So there's going to be such a thing as Google Classroom add-ons. And you can see some examples here with Kahoot and Adobe, where teachers are going to be able to, without additional sign-ins by students, tag those right in to Google Classroom assignments and be able to have students use those third-party tools with a real tight-knit integration into Google Classroom. We've got some Meet launches here. New data logs in the admin console, end all meetings, mute all. Co-moderators is really great, so that you can allow someone else to be the moderator and help with those polls or help formulate those breakout rooms and things like that. Improved Meet experience on Chromebooks so that things are more efficient and run a lot smoother. Education fundamentals, everyone's getting the end meeting for everyone on the call. And this is going to roll out a little bit later. And that's a teacher's ability when they hit the hang up button to say the meeting is over for everyone. And then if you're using your quick access setting effectively, students won't be able then to get back into that Google Meet session. And that really just ties all of that together really nicely. Education Plus and Teaching and Learning, setting up breakout rooms ahead of time via Google Calendar, which is kind of neat. So if you're going to do your Google Meet session planning through Google Calendar, while you're in Calendar with the settings button later this year, you're going to be able to pre-formulate and assign users to your breakout rooms way before that actual lesson plan or that meeting or whatever it may be. So that's a great one as well. Muting everyone, so a teacher or a Meet creator's ability to mute everyone and then lock that so they can't unmute until the teacher is ready for that. I know with remote learning last year, a lot of learning curve, a lot of noisy Google Meet classrooms with teachers and students trying to figure all that out, and students not being very good at self-muting and knowing when to unmute. So teachers having a lot more control over that experience. And then a lot of Chromebook and accessibility launches. You can see a whole lot of them listed here. I'm not going to read through all these for you, but the slide's there for you, and we pulled out a few examples. The live captioning feature in additional languages, Spanish, French, Portuguese, things like that, which is great. That's already out now, and already out now as well is app licensing. This was previously just through OEMs of these applications. Now that's going to be opened up to the reseller channel. You can purchase these apps through your resellers, and they can be assigned by OU or by even Google Group to your students and staff, which is really great. Last one, probably a big one, built-in screen recorder on Chrome OS for Chromebooks and Chrome devices. So this is really great. Teachers being able to create immediate examples and lesson plans and things for the students through a built-in screen recorder. Students being able to capture something that they're doing for their work and being able to share that easily back to the teacher with a built-in screen recorder on Chrome OS. So that's a great one as well. All right, we've got a minute or two left here, so let me just take a look here at what we've got for questions and see if I missed anything that we can answer within the time here. we want to remind everybody, everything we covered today, the links in this slide deck, as well as some other useful links are going to be out on the website, the registration website for the product training with Google that you got here from today. All those links are going to be there. We'll make sure those are up for you. Erica's asking about ways to permanently delete the link for a meeting students are getting back in after a meeting is over with the teacher. That's kind of a long one, Erica. It kind of depends on how that was originally created. Is it a nickname meet or not? The nickname meet is what makes a meet expire seconds after the last person has exited and prevents students from rejoining. You've got the quick access that you can turn off so that students can't join that meet URL until the organizer, the teacher, is in there. So there's a lot of nuance to that, but I think definitely take a look at those two areas and see maybe where that's going wrong for you. And I think we've covered most of the questions on the additions, and I think we're going to be out of time here. So again, we'll make sure all the relevant links and resources, including this slide deck, are available for you on the product training website for Google for Education that got you here today. Thanks very much for being here. I'm Tom Woods from Amplified IT. Join us for all the other sessions that are happening over the next 7 weeks, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you.